There is a moment, early in love, when you look at someone's face and you see more than a face. You see a light there, a promise, a sense that this person, out of everyone who has ever lived, was somehow made to meet you. It feels like recognition, as though you had always known them long before you met. What I want to tell you in this video is that the feeling is real, but it isn't about them. The light you see is not shining out of the person standing in front of you. It is being cast, like a projector throwing an image onto a wall, from somewhere inside you. From a figure you have carried since childhood, assembled out of every story, every longing, every face that ever moved you. And when a real person happens to match a few of its features, your mind quietly fills in the rest. You are not deceived exactly. You are meeting yourself in another form, and mistaking it for a meeting with someone else. Most of us live an entire life without noticing this. We fall in love, and we fall out of it, and we never once suspect that the figure we were chasing was our own. We blame the other for changing. We blame ourselves for choosing badly. And we begin again, carrying the same portrait into the next pair of eyes. Carl Jung gave this inner figure a name. He traced where it comes from, why first love is so blind, and what happens when the projection finally falls away. Not as the death of love, but strangely, as its beginning. This is not a video about finding your other half. It is not about deciding your feelings were an illusion. What Jung found is deeper than that, and more uncomfortable, because it asks you to do the one thing the heart resists most: to stop seeing your own reflection in the people you love, and to start seeing them. Begin with what Jung noticed in himself, and then in nearly everyone who came to him. Inside each of us, he said, there lives an image of the opposite, a kind of inner companion we never consciously made. In a man, he called it the anima. In a woman, the animus. Not a person, not a memory of anyone you have actually met. An image, painted slowly across a lifetime, and across the lifetimes before yours. Every man carries within him the eternal image of woman, Jung wrote. Not the image of this or that particular woman, he was careful to say, but a definite, inherited feminine figure, something laid down in the psyche before you were old enough to choose it. The same holds in reverse for a woman and her inner masculine. Jung did not mean this as poetry, he meant it as structure. A real autonomous pattern in the psyche, as much a part of you as memory or appetite. It has a life of its own. It stirs when certain people come near and falls quiet when they leave. And for most of your life, it does all of this without ever once introducing itself. Think about where such an image would come from. The first face that bent over your crib. The voice that soothed you or failed to. The stories you absorbed before you could read them, the rescuer, the beloved, the one who finally understands. Layer upon layer, year upon year, your psyche has been painting a portrait. And here is the strange part. You have never seen the whole of it. It lives beneath the surface of your attention, complete and waiting, like a face in a darkened room. You did not invent it on purpose, and you cannot simply think it away. It is older than your opinions about love, older than your taste, older even than your first heartbreak. This figure is not a flaw. It is one of the deepest forces in you, the part that knows how to long, how to reach toward another, how to be moved. Without it, you would feel nothing when you looked across a room and met a stranger's eyes. But because it lives in the dark, you do not experience it as yours. You experience it as a description of what you are looking for. And so you walk out into the world, carrying a portrait that has never posed, searching the faces of strangers for the one who matches. Now watch what happens when that hidden portrait meets a living person. Someone walks into your life who shares a few of its lines, a way of laughing, a tilt of the head, a quality you cannot quite name. And your unconscious does something instantaneous and overwhelming. It recognizes the match, and it projects the entire portrait onto them, the parts that fit, and all the parts that do not yet. This is why falling in love can feel like being struck by lightning. You are not slowly getting to know a person. You are experiencing the sudden return of something that was always inside you, now seemingly alive in the world, wearing the human face. The intensity is not a measure of how well you know them. It is a measure of how much of yourself you have placed on them without knowing it. Jung put it starkly. Projections change the world into the replica of one's own unknown face. Read that again, slowly. The world becomes a replica of a face you do not recognize as your own. When you gaze at the beloved in those first months, convinced you are seeing them more clearly than anyone ever has, you are, in a sense, gazing into a mirror you do not know is a mirror. You are looking through them, not at them. And this is the part worth being honest about. In that state, the actual person is almost beside the point. They have become a screen, and a screen has to stay blank for the film to play. So you overlook the inconvenient details, the moods that do not fit the story, the needs that have nothing to do with your longing. You are not lying. You simply cannot see them yet, because something more dazzling is in the way. Other people may even try to warn you. They describe the same person, and you cannot understand who they are talking about, because they are seeing the human being, and you are seeing the figure. It can last weeks or months, or in some cases, years. But a projection is not a foundation. It is a beam of light. And sooner or later, the person behind it moves, and the image slips. Here is the moment almost no one is prepared for. One day, the person you love does something that does not belong in the portrait. They are tired when you needed them luminous. They want something for themselves that has nothing to do with you. They are ordinary in a way the beloved was never supposed to be. And something cold moves through you, a flicker of disappointment, a quiet, disorienting thought. You've changed, but they have not changed. What has changed is that reality has begun to push through the screen. The real human being, separate, whole, never yours to begin with, is starting to show through the image you laid over them. And it feels like loss, because in a way it is. The dazzling figure is dissolving. The mirror is turning back into a window, and a window, unlike a mirror, shows you something other than yourself. Most people, at exactly this point, make the same move. They decide they have fallen out of love. They go looking for someone new, someone who can hold the projection again, someone the portrait still fits. And so they spend their lives moving from screen to screen, mistaking the fading of an image for the failure of a relationship, never once staying long enough to meet the actual person in front of them. The cycle can run for decades. There is another name for that cycle. We call it a type. We say we have a type, and we treat it almost with pride, as if it revealed something true about us. And it does, but not what we imagine. A type is often just the shape of the portrait, the recurring outline of the figure we keep trying to find in the flesh. But I want you to consider another way of seeing it. What if the disappointment is not the end of love, but the first honest moment in it? Projections only break down when life refuses to confirm them, when the gap between the figure in your mind and the person beside you grows too wide to ignore. That breaking is painful, but it is also the precise moment your eyes begin to focus. Nothing has been taken from you that was ever truly there. What is leaving is the part you supplied. What is arriving is the part that was always missing, the other as they actually are. Think of it the way an eye adjusts when you step from darkness into light. There is an ache at first, a wish to close them again, to retreat back into the dark where the image was so beautiful. But if you stay, if you let the discomfort do its work, something appears that the projection never allowed you to see. A real person, different from you, unfinished, genuinely there, and for the first time, available to be loved.
So what does Jung ask of you, if not to keep chasing the image? He asks for something harder and far more rewarding. He asks you to take the projection back, to recognize that the light you saw in the beloved was never theirs to give. It was your own, a quality alive inside you that you had never claimed, so you went looking for it in someone else. Consider what people actually fall for. The disciplined person falls for someone wonderfully free and feels alive near them. The guarded person falls for someone open-hearted. The one who has buried their own depth is drawn helplessly to someone who seems to carry it. The trait that enchants you in another is very often a piece of yourself, waiting in the dark to be lived. The anima, the animus, these inner figures are not a checklist for choosing a partner. They are a bridge back to the parts of you that you have left unlived. Fall in love, and you meet your own exiled qualities, walking around in someone else's body. No wonder it feels like destiny. And this reframes the entire search. As long as the figure stays projected outward, you will keep needing another person to complete you, to carry your freedom, your warmth, your depth, so that you do not have to. But that is an unbearable weight to place on anyone. No human being can be the missing half of you for long. They will always, eventually, turn out to be merely themselves. The tragedy is not that they failed you. The tragedy is that you ask them to be something no person has ever been, whole on your behalf. Jung called the deeper task a kind of inner marriage, the slow joining of the conscious self with the very figure it has been chasing out in the world. The work is not glamorous. It happens in the dreams you bother to remember, in the impulses you stop dismissing, in the honest hours when you ask yourself what you were really looking for in the people you loved. And here is what changes when you do it. You stop arriving at love starving. You come to another person already carrying your own light, and you find you no longer need them to be a figure. You can let them be a person, which is the only thing they ever were. And now the question turns toward you. Because everything I have described, the portrait, the projection, the dazzling figure and its slow dissolving, is a story about how you have loved. But there is a harder question underneath it, and it is the one that actually matters. When the image is gone, and the person before you is simply, fully themselves, different from you, unfinished, real, do you still choose them? This is where Viktor Frankl, who lost almost everyone he loved and survived to write about why we live, said something that completes what Jung began. Love is the only way to grasp another human being, not as a screen for your longing,
but in the innermost core of who they truly are. Frankl went further. To truly love someone, he said, is to see not only who they are, but who they could yet become, and by seeing it, to help call it into being. Notice how different that is from the projection. Projection sees your own face and calls it love. Frankl's love sees the other person so clearly that it perceives even their unrealized potential and then helps them reach it. One is a mirror, the other is a window with a hand extended through it. The first leaves you alone in a hall of mirrors. The second, at last, lets another person in. So here is the turn I want you to sit with. The fading of the dazzling image was never a punishment. It was an invitation to stop loving a figure and start loving a person. The strange, hopeful truth that Jung and Frankl both arrived at is this: you cannot truly receive another human being until you have stopped demanding that they be the missing half of you. The projection has to fall so that someone real can finally be there to be loved. Not the eternal image you carried in the dark, a particular, breathing, imperfect human being whom for once you are actually able to see. If something in this stirred a quiet recognition, a sense that you may have spent years searching the world for a figure that was living inside you all along, then sit with it. The work begins the moment you stop asking another person to be your missing half and start meeting the parts of yourself you have only ever met in someone else. And if these ideas gave you something, stay a while and subscribe. There is more here on why you do what you do and on the quiet work of becoming whole.